Hey guys, here's the gear for the month of August. I'm back for the Austere August challenge over on the subreddit for R wet shaving, and it's one of those things that I just enjoy doing every month. Every year. I like the lather games that happens in June, but in the last couple of years, my just with my life being so crazy, moving and things like that, I haven't been able to just gather up the bandwidth to do that. But Austere August is pretty much no bandwidth because it is a time for you to pick something and use it the whole month. And you can do it different ways. You can be very simple about it by picking maybe one soap and using it the whole month. That's one mode, if you will. You can pick a soap and a brush and use it one whole month. The same brush, the same soap. And the cool thing about that is you will then learn how that brush and that soap work together, give you a chance to fine tune the lather, get your lathering skills on point. And that's really cool. Well, add more to it, and you maybe use the same razor with the same soap and brush. And so now you maybe you're helping your razor technique to improve as well. And maybe then if you want to get crazy, you add the same blade. I'm going to be using the Nacet that I've used now for 554 times, I think. And I'm whipping it out here in August. And we'll get up to the 575 or something like that use count by the end of the month if everything goes well. And then I'll probably go ahead and take it to 600 before I send it off to have it looked at by a microscope wielding fellow wet shaver. And now, yeah, you don't really have to use the same blade and one that is so old as this one, right? But many guys will learn a lot if they do use the same blade all month, even if it's a fresh one they just open up. And so by the end of the month, it's got 31 uses. And a lot of guys come away knowing that they can actually make their blade go farther than they really thought it could. And many times they learn that it can still be comfortable up to a certain point. Now, after that, a lot of guys may not go for a month at a time with a blade, but a lot of them go for 2 weeks instead of just 4 days or something like that. But at least you learn something. And as always, with using the same blade, I am a big advocate of being the priority of your technique improving, because that's what's going to help with long blade life. It seems to me to be the case. And your lathering skills with a nice slick lather, that goes for long blade life. And so that helps you not to have a month of shaves you have to endure, but shaves that you enjoy. And that's one of my biggest hopes with my marathon run with this Nacet blade, is that people enjoy more of their shaves if they choose to. All right, so the gear, this is a B13 knot and a hybrid handle from Dogwood Handcrafts. The Declaration Grooming did the knot, of course. That's their B13, that's their designation. Get it back in the water. The razor that I've used for the last quite a while with the Nacet blade, because it still seems to have the magic dimensions, the all those specs about how it holds the blade and what angle it is and all those things, still seems to be compatible with my Nacet blade with such an age on it. So we're going to keep using it. This is an open comb, usually a little bit more aggressive, this timeless stainless steel 68 gap. The open comb with this particular model, even though the 68 is a wonderfully smooth razor with the solid bar or the scalloped base plate, with the open comb, it really jumped in aggression for me, but that's what I need apparently with this old blade. We're going to use Midnight Stag. I've used this now for a couple of years, and I bought it from our Chewbacca after he did a great run with Midnight Stag during Austere August. And he even sent me the Stag mask, that he used and I think his wife used it running through the forest or something like that in one of his vignettes. But this, I used it last year, and we definitely have the ring of death. And maybe I will use all of this up by the end of the month. What's really cool is that last year, when I was using this, and the cool thing is it still smells great. I got to where I was using the slurry method last year. I'm probably going to oscillate back and forth between different methods this month. But I use the slurry method, and it comes to the soap with a very wet brush. And so the soap here would absorb that. And after maybe 2 weeks, after a week, I was able to use such a little touch of the brush onto the soap to gather enough for the shave that it was, I really didn't have to count swirls anymore. You know, it was just like 1, 2 swirls, and that was plenty of lather for the 3 passes of shaving, and that was just crazy. I was amazed. So there's the soap. It's the older iteration of the label from a few years ago, I'm sure, maybe several years ago by now. And this particular tub was purchased by at the Pasteur Pharmacy, I think New York City, right? And then part of the Midnight Stag Challenge is using the Midnight Stag cologne as a part of your shaving, and I'll be doing that too. So here's the Nacet. 300 uses. The dots for those uses have been put on the original little wax paper envelope of the Nacet blade. And then I think it was back in 2017 maybe when I started with this blade, and I didn't even know if it was going to last the whole month. I started just before Austere August, and then I was able to put 300 dots. I didn't even know if it would go the month, but it did. So I said, let's try another month. It did. Let's keep going. It did. You know, and so, yeah, it may take 5 passes of shaving, but they're quick passes. And so my standard with this blade, I'll remind you guys, has always been it needs to be reasonable. It needs to give a reasonable number of passes, meaning a reasonable number of minutes for the shave. If it takes an hour to shave, then that's not reasonable, you know, and so then the blade needs to be done. It needs to give reasonable comfort. It is a little bit of tuggy sometimes, but it's a kind of tugginess that goes away after the first pass, almost always. And it's not painful, it's just lightly tuggy. And then it needs to give a reasonable appearance of a well-shaven man, to where I could go into most jobs and I wouldn't be looked at and thought of as someone who had not shaved well. Now, of course, a high exposure job like a high-priced lawyer or a model or something like that, where people are where appearance really matters, and your professionalism really matters. That's not the standard I'm going for. I'm just going for your average job. So reasonable results is what is going to keep this blade going. So 300 dots on that little envelope, and I just had to start keeping track of the dots on the index card here. So this represents the envelope, and then all of these make 400, 500, 54. So that's the count we're on, thanks to the Sharpie dots. And I'm going to let me show you the blade. I always, once I started using it, I thought, hey, I better make some marks on this blade, because you guys, people doubt and say impossible when I use this blade and I say how many shaves I've had with it, and that's up to them. But I have shown you guys the blade every single time. Almost every use of this blade has been on video. I know there's one that wasn't, but so here is the blade. Around I think use number 226, I dropped it, and so there's a little bend in the blade in this corner right here, And if I flex it, you can probably see that in the light. And then also you can see I had at one time I had some Sharpie dots that were right in this area right there. You can maybe barely see a little bit of one left. And then over here I've got N for Nacet and then a 1 down here that I put on with an etcher. And so hopefully I'm flexing those in a way that you can see that. And then one final detail for now at least is that this, where did I put my razor? Here it is. Except for one shave, right around maybe use 230, 250, something like that. I used a butterfly razor where the doors open up on the top, and I made it so that the writing and the etching was visible to you guys, the viewer, but that meant that the backside was toward the handle, and in actuality, the backside always goes toward the head, because when I started using this razor blade back in maybe 2017 or 18, I decided on a whim, again, just on a whim, let's not flip it ever. Let's see how long I can go on one side unflipped. And then whenever it gets dull or it no longer is a reasonable shave, I'll flip it, because I'm really curious, how's it going to feel? Is the blade edge being dulled in a predictable way where it's uniform and it doesn't matter which way the blade is flipped? Or is it maybe tilting to one side as it's wearing away, and so then flipping would be a difference, you know? Why not do that? And so there was one time where I forgot, but all the other times in the 554 uses, then I have not flipped the blade, and I have had that etching to point toward the handle. And so yeah, there it is. I'm holding, sometimes I drop things just because I'm trying to hold them up for you guys to see. So there's the side that has all the etching, and that is going to be face up on the top cap, so that's pointing toward the handle. I was talking to Greg, and he is a fellow shaver. He's going to be the one to maybe microscope this blade, check out the edge geometry, what has happened to it over the years, and why is it still able to shave? Or maybe we won't answer that question, but maybe we will. Get my face wet. And he made a really good point of the very edge, the apex of the point of a new blade starts to chip as you shave. And then as that chips away, then that'll become actually a stronger edge, not as sharp, but stronger. And so maybe at some point, I'm not chipping anymore. And so maybe that's why this thing has been running for so long. There's a lot of questions that I don't know the answer to. I'm just making educated guesses. And so we'll just have to see what happens today. All right, face is wet. About a day's worth of shaving. I'm going to shake off most of the water from the brush here. I'm probably going to do a old school style lather instead of the slurry method. So let's just start loading until I see these recommendations of loading time and all that. Probably not going to be very relevant since we're talking about a ring of death here, and you will usually have to load a lot longer when you have less exposure of the brush tips to the soap. Oh, I want to catch these suds in my lather bowl, if any of them decide to come out. I wonder if that'll be enough yet. Okay, that should probably be enough. I'm going to take this little side stuff. I really like the smell, but it's very divisive. My wife does not like it. My kids don't really like it. So it's another reason to shave at night, right? But I really do enjoy it. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm not really going to track the water usage. I'm going to get a little trickle going here, and then I'm going to go ahead and put some in there, and then we're just going to start working it. Very bubbly, watery mess at first, and that's normal. Often with Austere August, I'll use a boar brush because I like to kind of brag about boar brushes, and I like to watch them age. It's really neat to watch the tips transform and the brush really to become another knot. You know, it starts off prickly and rough, but as the month goes on, you are getting those tips to split, get softer, and all that fun stuff. Add in a little bit more water as the lather here has started to come together a bit. But instead of the boar brush, this time I decided to treat myself to an extra luxurious, one of my favorite knots, the B13 from Declaration Grooming. How do you know when the lather's about done? Well, this is Chiseled Face's kind of old school base. And so I do think I need to run this a little thicker than usual. If I put enough water in it where it looks to me like it's really creamy, lightly creamy and really hydrated, then it will be a little bit too wet. It's just kind of the nature of this beast, which is why the slurry lather method dazzled me when I first tried it with this soap base, because it gave me a kind of slickness that I didn't think that I could get from this kind of OG tallow base. And boy, we've got plenty of lather here, so I did not need to load for that long. But I also better quit adding too much water to it. This one doesn't like a whole lot of, I mean, it can break a little easier. Well, I love the scents that Chiseled Face offers. I don't really like their old school tallow base. Their silk tallow is wonderful, just takes twice as much, sometimes 3 times as much product to get the job done. All right, so here we go. Just enjoy the brush. Work on cleaning the face here. I'm going to still add a little bit more water to it after feeling it on my face. It feels like it could take more. Set that aside. All right, how's it going to be? When was the last time I used this Nacet? Was it a year ago? At August 31st? It was around the maybe 230 mark where for Greg, I was looking at my notes and I was discovering this very information. I was looking and trying to find when did I have to start turning it into a 4-pass shave? You know, when did 3 passes not give me the results that I wanted? Right now, not even tuggy at all. I mean, only a tiny bit. There's nothing to speak of. That side that has the end that has the bend in it, I can tell you which side it is. I've always been able to do that. It just feels a little bit more rough. Yeah, there we go. But it's not too bad. I was afraid of I bent it back a little bit when I did suffer that injury when I dropped the head. But I didn't want to bend it back too much because I didn't want it to break. So this is the first day of Austere August. And see right now, it's kind of lost its creaminess. It may look nice and creamy and stuff, but it's already starting to lose that. That's why it's one of my less favorite bases, but it does get the job done, and so at least I can enjoy those wonderful scents from Chiseled Face. The first pass is with the grain. Sure, with a fresh blade, that first pass, you're going to take down about 90-95% of your growth, and I'm not going to be able to do that with the Nacet here. And but a lot has been reduced, and so these extra passes that I'm making are going to be quick. Life has just been so crazy with the divorce and trying to sell our house and all that stuff. I'm looking forward to being with you guys for a month. Just haven't been able to shave as often as I want to. Working from home. It's not required for my job anymore. Cross grain again. And I can tell that more stubble has been removed. You know what? I may have used the Nacet with the Osprey that I bought a month or two ago. So maybe it hasn't been a year since I've used the Nacet. Any bleeders? Any weepers? I do have a little irritation over here somewhere. A splash of water. So I think that's probably 3 passes. So now we're into the bonus passes. Tons of lather. Oh yeah. It's going to be really fun and enjoyable with the tips on this brush. See these blobs? They're falling off, but it's almost like they're empty. They're empty lather, and the slurry keeps it from getting to this stage. And who knows? Maybe I'll use the slurry for the rest of the month because of that. I just enjoy the lather more from it with this particular base. I've tried slurry with so many other soap bases, and it works great. With a couple, with I think there's one other that it's a very big difference, like with this OG tallow base from Chiseled Face. But most of them, it's just as good as in terms of slickness, performance, feel, all that. It's just as good as when I mix together a good bowl lather, but not this one. So that's fine with my cheek. So that guy's done. Light pressure, as always. One of the secrets, like I said, to good long blade life, to me, it seems, is good razor technique. Very light pressure, small blade angle. Okay, how's our look here? I think I'm just going to do one more. Fifth pass will just be on the neck. A little kind of quick touch up. And as you can see, I still have plenty of lather. So all that loading, I didn't really need to do it. Well, you know, I didn't want to run out. And since the soap hadn't been used in a while, usually a soap like that is going to need a little bit more loading than usual. One time when I did flip the blade, kind of answered my question, because it was like it was a new blade. I could tell it was different. It shaved really well. So that told me what I needed to know. It was wearing slightly different. It wasn't wearing down symmetrically. And I believe we now have a reasonable shave. There we go. Just going to rinse off. Some of you guys have been with me the whole time with this blade. Friend Linus has been watching for a long time. Buzz, I think, was here maybe near the beginning as well. So some of you guys jump in and say, hey, if you remember the old Nacet when it was young. But we'll be around all month. August 2024. Here's the look of this brush. It's a wonderful 2-band Badger. Really enjoyed the tips today. Got to the end of the shave and I realized I hadn't shown you guys the aftershave. And of course you can tell that it was purchased at about the same time the soap was. And it looks like I don't know which one's going to die first. I don't know which one I'm going to kill first. The aftershave and the cologne, because they are the liquid form, will be a more accurate representation of the scent as created by the perfumer. The soap is usually a pretty lousy form of the scent, and the aftershave, but especially the cologne, is going to give you notes that you couldn't even tell were in there by just smelling the soap. And so when I really do like a soap, I try to get the EDP, the cologne, if I can, the fragrance. And we'll put some of this on at the end. And it's been really That's been a neat learning thing, because the I could see how maybe the aftershave, maybe even the soap would be a little divisive, but there's some neat roasty scents and uh, smoky scents that really come out only in the EDP, because this has menthol in it, and that affects the scent. I prefer aftershaves that are like this, but the ones that don't come with menthol, because I don't like the burn that it gives my face, and I don't like the smell of the menthol. And if it was just cooling, that'd be okay, but my skin seems to react to it a little bit. All right, the brush this is animal hair, and so you do need to give it a really, really good rinse. This is maybe you can look in the details. I think it's a 26 millimeter knot. I don't think it's a 28, but that just really seems to be the right size that I like with the backbone that we have here. And the big bloom is just very enjoyable to use. And then I need to get my Sharpie out, put another dot on the index card. But the bowl is clean, the brush is clean, the razor's clean, so I don't guess I need to stick around with you guys. So let's go ahead and put on the frag, and then we'll be done. Happy Austere August to everyone. And I like to just put the frag on my wrists, and then you don't go blind to it as easily that way. And for the next several hours, I'll be able to, if I move up to adjust my glasses or take off my hat, it'll stir that scent. It'll come afresh to me again, and I'll just be able to enjoy it for hours. So very good. Thank you so much for watching. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. We're going to be doing Austere August. Right now I'm visiting family, and so we're doing it remotely. Most of it will be done from the kind of the bathroom of the room I'm renting. All right. Well, there we go. I think that that covers it. And have a good night.